Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. And we are only a couple minutes late, but we were trying to see if we could stall a little bit for our buddy Brian, but he's still looks like he's still caught up in a little bit of traffic here. So while we wait for him, let's introduce the rest of the team here. And let's start with Mr. Mark Capitan. Look at you looking sharp in the On the Wrong Lead hoodie there.
Dude, the hoodie is this is like the world's most comfortable hoodie. It's super stylish. I mean, what's not to like?
Nice. Yeah, we if you guys didn't know, you can always buy t-shirt or other merch at onthewronglead.com. I think Caleb is not repping the On the Wrong Lead shirt today.
No, both of mine are actually dirty because I've been so busy repping them all week.
There you go.
I got a Keeneland shirt on though, so we're still repping horse racing.
Still got repping horse racing, so that's good. Keeneland starts in what? Next week?
October 8th? It's like that next weekend, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that should be interesting. We'll see. I mean, with all these other, I mean, I don't know, the Belmont card and the Santa Anita card this weekend, I mean, are just like completely loaded. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen when Keeneland opens up. I know everybody kind of, saves their good turf horses for Keeneland, especially now that, Churchill's not even operating with the turf course right now. So all those Kentucky turf horses are have to point to Keeneland unless they're going to run in Belmont. So we should get some nice full fields. I know that they're going to have that. Was it a $2 pick three, $3 pick three? What is that? That turf pick three, Caleb?
Yeah, I don't know what the base was. It was at least $1.
It's a $3 base pick three on the last 3 turf races of every single card.
And it's cool because Keeneland is one of the few tracks that will run on soft turf in America. They do. I mean, they come off the turf if it's too bad, but they run on a lot softer ground than most other tracks. So there's a good chance we'll get quite a few opportunities to play that wager, which sounds pretty fun.
So I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but with the Breeders' Cup, there was some talk that they don't think that a lot of these Euro horses are going to ship to California because they prefer to run on like Kentucky turf, like Churchill and Keeneland, versus the California turf. Like you guys heard anything about that?
Yeah, that's been a rumor mill for a while now, but I think it was a rumor mill the last time they ran at Del Mar and the Euros. Some of the Euros came. I think a lot of the A-tier Euros probably don't come because they're all running in the ARC, and I don't think anybody's going to try to do the ARC Breeders' Cup double. But I think you still get your fair share of Euros, and I think you're also getting these Euros who ran the New York State Turf Triple Series, and I think those types of horses are probably Euros which have sort of spent a lot of time in the U.S. and probably stick.
Yeah, have you? I know before we get into talking a little bit about Belmont and a little bit of Santa Anita, Mark, I know you were really excited to talk about the ARC, and it seems like maybe PPs aren't out yet for the ARC.
Yeah,
so,
ARC Sunday PPs are not out. The ARC Opera, I always like to catch the Opera because the Opera tends to be a big feeder for the Breeders' Cup, Filly and Mare turf, or even sometimes the regular turf. I mean, ARC's a good card. It's been a really interesting few days though, because they have gotten an absolute deluge of rain, and a few of the major players have scratched out because it's an absolute bog, and they're expecting a lot more rain before Sunday. So I'll definitely tune in. ARC's always a great race. A bunch of extremely talented fillies in there this year, and it's going to be pretty interesting race. I mean, the ARC came up just crazy salty.
Caleb, did you take a peek at the field at all?
I did. So yeah, I think it's one of the better arcs that I can remember, and that take that for what it's worth. I don't have a passionate following of European racing, but I do try to keep up with it. I like to know who's who and what's going on. So it's a really salty field. I think there's 14 or 15 horses. I think there's
14. Yeah, 14 right now.
So I mean, it is going to look like it's going to be very heavy ground. I mean, it's somewhere between soft and heavy. So that kind of is going to play a huge factor on how some of these horses perform. But I'm excited. Looks like Adiyar and Tarnawa are going to kind of fight for favoritism. I respect them both, but if I'm going to bet at the two horses I'm looking at a little bit more are probably Hurricane Lane and Snowfall. I do kind of think it's a 4-horse race between those four. Snowfall would have been a 4 to 5 favorite if not for her last race here where she didn't get the best ride. I think she still makes sense, and if you get her at 5 to 1 or 9 to 2, that's a great price. Hurricane Lane loves give in the ground. I think the worse the ground is, the better it is for him. I know there's never been a Ledger Arc double winner before, but I'm not too worried about that. I think they both make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I tend to see it much the same way Caleb does. I think you're going to have. It's always a little fun. I don't know if the pools are commingled this year, but a lot of times U.S. pools over gamble or whatever are levered very much towards the favorites. The favorites are getting very over bet, so you can get some nice value on on somebody like a Snowfall, who I think is amazingly talented. I can excuse that last and give her another shot. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that ADR, or however you say the name, is sort of like a generational talent. They're already throwing that around about that one. So it's going to be neat to see a lot of these very known horses, real quality field, face off against one another. Always a good card.
All right, and sorry guys, I am trying to get. Apparently, it looks like our Twitter chat's not working. So if anyone's watching on Twitter, I cannot see the comments, so I don't know what the heck is going on there. And just so you guys know, I guess back of the Periscope, which used to be like Twitter's backbone for live streaming, is dead finally, and they replaced it with Twitter streaming. And so some of our or some of the programs that kind of work in the back end, I think, are just they're still trying to solve that. So I'm trying to keep an eye on Twitter comments in another window here and see if we get anything there. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at even entries. I saw somebody talking about Love at 15 to 1, and I got interested there. And then Caleb just mentioned two absolute monsters, and I can now see why Love is 15 to 1 in that field.
I actually saw Love at 25 to 1.
Ooh.
I think, but Love is one of those horses that she has had some huge run across soft ground as well. But she's been very off form as of late. You would have liked to see her run a little better in her prep for this. But she's a bit of I don't know if I want to call her a head case. It shows up sometimes, doesn't show up other times. So horse that, at 25 to 1, I think is worth a stab, even though I don't think you're going to get it. I think your 15 to 1 line is probably more accurate on what you'll actually see come post.
All right. Well, let's. Why don't we get into some of the weekend racing here? Let's pull up the PPs here. Why don't we take a look at Belmont first here? So Belmont's got a really nice card. I was reading. I was doing a podcast yesterday, and I pulled up Santa Anita. Everyone has been talking about Santa Anita's card this weekend. They have some just astronomical number of win in your ins this weekend and or the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of horses pointing towards these next couple of weekends here at Santa Anita. Obviously, we also have StableDuel contest with Santa Anita, so we'll talk a little StableDuel as well. We'll get to that after, but we got some nice races here at Belmont. I think it's going to be a nice card. You got the Champagne, you got the Woodward, and then you got a nice little turf sprint mixed in the middle with no turf sprinters and no speed. So just a Belmont special. There are turf sprinters, but there's not really any big name turf sprinters in this race, which was kind of interesting. But I don't know. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. I know we were definitely going to talk about the Woodward, and I know you guys had some thoughts on that. But Champagne, did you guys take a look at the Champagne at all? It looks, I think Witt's coming back here. Jack Christopher, who I've literally never heard of, apparently is the 9-5 favorite here. So, what are you guys thinking here with the Champagne? Any thoughts?
Yeah, and I think my take is that I've never thought Witt was some monster, and all throughout the Saratoga meet, all I heard was how Witt was the second coming and going to be your Derby winner, and this was the world's fastest horse, and we always had to have this happen with Pletcher horses. I think Witt was somewhat exposed in the hopeful. I mean, he stumbled at the break. Is he a desperate need the lead? I don't think he's a desperate need the lead from his two previous races. Stumbled at the break. I don't know if that's enough to excuse the race he ran, and kind of you expected him to improve and not regress. So stretching him out here once again, he makes some sense. I think he'll take more money than his probably his chances are of winning. And I think you also have Gunite, who won that hopeful last out. They have 4-1 on the morning line for Gunite. I think Gunite makes a fair bit of sense in here. But another horse that I think sort of tripped out. Track was playing a little weird at Saratoga that day. But I think I was actually kind of surprised when I saw the morning lines, because the two horses that I'm most interested in are the two, maiden breaker last out, Mr. Prankster and Jack Christopher. Both of them were absolute monster first out efforts, winning by 10 and 8 3/4. Obviously the fields in those races are somewhat suspect until proven otherwise, but both of them have, were extremely impressive visually. I'm trying to remember. I was there for one of them. I think I was there for Jack Christopher because, no, I was there for Mr. Prankster. I'm sorry. But both of those horses have a lot of speed, and I think they both have. I don't know. Mr. Prankster probably has a little bit more of a miler pedigree than Jack Christopher may, but I thought those were the two most interesting players here, where we still have some potential for more upside.
Yeah, I kind of see the race pretty similar to Mark. I thought Witt was a nice horse in his maiden breaker, but eventually those gate issues are going to cost you. And last time in the hopeful, it did. He ended up getting stumbling at the break once again and just kind of came up short. Well, I do think he gets an honest pace setup here. I think he had an honest pace setup last time, and he still couldn't get close enough to get in the same zip code as Gunite. I don't like Witt here, so I would play against him. I do like the horses Mark mentioned, my Prankster as well as Jack Christopher. They both ran really impressively in debut and have every right to step forward in their second start. And then I do think that Gunite, that was a pretty gutsy effort last time in the hopeful. A bunch of horses went. He's the only one that really stayed on, and not only stayed on, but really just flourished. So, I think it remains to be seen at how well he's going to really want to do a mile, but I think around the one turn at Belmont, he'll be okay. So I know there's a lot of speed in here, but sometimes I think, especially with 2-year-old races, you can just take the best horses and kind of let the pace setup work out the way it is, because you don't really know what some of these horses want to do. So yeah, I would like Gunite and then the two last out maiden breakers with my Prankster and Jack Christopher, but I don't know that it's a race I'm really going to go after too hard.
Yeah, I thought Gunite was a bit of an interesting horse, just in the fact that how many 2-year-olds do you see in this day and age that have ran 5 times and slowly and progressively gotten better throughout all those 5? I think we're so used to seeing 2-year-old campaigns that are 2 races, and you run a maiden and then try, or whatever, run a maiden, run a stakes, and then point for the Breeders' Cup. And this is a classically campaigned horse, bit of a throwback and kind of impressive. And I really like how he's being campaigned. I hope he continues to do well, but it almost makes your head scratch a little with how he's been campaigned. Did Asmussen not know what he had, or not think this one was that good? Just an interesting approach to an approach you don't see very much anymore.
Yeah, Michael in the chat saying Jack Christopher is a single. Rail was good on Travers Day, and he was 3 wide on the turn. So going against the bias, which is always a good kind of like bet back angle. And so if the horse won impressively against the bias, see what he does on a fair track. I kind of am with Jimmy Two Eyes here. He says Gunite wins by 2. I don't know if he wins by 2, but when it comes to these 2-year-old stakes races, especially as they get later and later in the season, I like to see horses that have won more than once. And especially like you said, Mark, like you see a horse that's steadily improving. And, I know Briz has Jack Christopher's last race as the fastest last out fig, Mark as king of the figs. What does King Buyer say?
They have My Prankster and Jack Christopher both running a 92 last out, and those are a fair bit faster than anyone else who's running the field.
Okay. So maybe Briz is extremely wrong here, but they had Gun Night pretty competitive, but I don't know. I kind of like Gun Night here, just with having kind of been tested, I think a little bit more than some of these other horses, but we'll see. 2-year-old stakes races are not exactly my forte. I don't think I know Caleb's already just like annoyed even that we've talked this long about this race.
Bourbon because we're talking about 2-year-old stakes races.
Yeah, not my jam.
But let's move on here to this the Belmont Turf Sprint. I don't know if I really told you guys to look at this race, but I took a look at this one, and I thought this was a very, very interesting race, handicapping wise, to take a look at. Mostly because there are a couple of short prices in here that I just like. I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit. I mean, they have Therapist as 9-2 is like one of the shorter prices in here, and I mean, Therapist is a miler, right? I mean, I does he really want to go 6 furlongs here at Belmont?
You do realize he's 2 for 3 in his career going 6 furlongs, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he's run. I mean, he's won those races, but I mean, he's run much better races going longer. Because what was his big? Please tell me I'm thinking of the right horse. But what was his big? Wasn't his like big win or best race a mile race?
He won the Artie Schiller at a mile, and then he won the First Defense at 7 furlongs. Those are his 2 most recent wins. He almost got up in the West Point at a mile and a 16th.
See, I thought he had a graded stakes win at a mile, but maybe I'm thinking of a different horse. But I don't know. Either way, I'm not really a fan here of Therapist. I mean, really, I think of the short prices, the only real horse I was kind of interested in was Pulsate. I thought Pulsate made a ton of sense in the spot. Coming off that win last time out in the Lucky Coin, he's 7-2 on the morning line. He's your second choice. But I don't know, Mark. What did you think here?
I think that this is the Therapist show, and I think he wins this pretty convincingly. He is fastest by a mile and a half. Yeah, I think he's fastest by a mile and a half on everything Timeform has. Substantially faster than anything else anybody else has ever run on this field. Even if you go back to his shorter 6 and 7 furlong races, they're just a lot faster than everybody else in this field. So I think Therapist is probably a single A for me in here. And the only other horse that I thought was a little bit interesting was Chewing Gum. But my issue is I don't know if there's enough pace in this race for Chewing Gum to sort of invent the trip that he probably needs. I don't, and Chewing Gum is also, 3 for 20. So not that Therapist is any sort of win machine or anything, but I thought Chewing Gum was a little bit interesting in here. And I think just the entire rest of this field is just super, super, super suspect. A lot of horses that have been very much exposed, and I don't really want a lot of anybody else.
Yeah, this is not a favorite race of mine here. I kind of agree with Josh, though. I don't love Therapist. I do think he's better. I mean, if this was 7 furlongs, maybe. But I just think that, 6 is a little bit too sharp, given what he's been running in, given the fact he does like to come from pretty far off the pace. And there's 0 speed in here. This is one of the more pace devoid turf sprints I've seen in a while. So yeah, to me, I thought the horse to beat was probably the 2 back to his roots. He was the best horse that day, and the Lucky Coin just had a very wide trip after getting shuffled to last early on. Just missed losing to Pulsate in that race, but I think both of them make some sense here. And then I don't know if the horse is actually going to run or if the horse is going to actually run with Charles Roberts, but I don't think that PD Bianchi should be 20-1 in this field. Yeah, I know it's a girl taking on the boys here, but that last race was pretty quick. It was not significantly slower, or really slower at all than what most of these horses are running. with the exception of maybe Therapist's best mile races here. But the horse has the ability to be forwardly placed. Was just off the pace last time out. Gets an inside draw. Like, I don't know if this is the horse actually runs, like I said, but I think P.D. Bianchi could make some sense, and it should not be 20-1. I mean, maybe 8-1 or 10-1, but not 20-1.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, outside of Pulsate, the only other two horses I was really interested in were possibly Belgrano, the 8, and the 1 P.D. Bianchi. But I'm just looking for anybody who's going to show any kind of speed. But you always like lack of speed in some of these races, especially turf races, always ends up being kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Because one, like you're like, okay, well, the horses in the front end are going to have an easier time, right? But two, if you let like a closer with a really great like closing kick and a turn of foot, like stay 3 lengths from the front when he's normally 5 lengths from the front or something like that, like you're just going to get outkicked. So I think that's sometimes why I think turf races sometimes they're a little bit harder. I think to judge pace. It's not as hard and fast as I think it is with dirt races. And I think Jimmy Two Eyes brings up a good point. He says he always feels like when there's no speed, they all go. And I mean, how many NYRA races have we seen where we've seen a bunch of speed and nobody goes? So but I mean I would think that for this race, I would want someone forwardly placed. I think Pulsate makes the most sense. And he says that he's running his pick 3s through Chewing Gum here. So I think that was that you Mark, that you
yeah, I like Chewing Gum. I like Chewing Gum a fair bit in here. Yeah. And I will agree with you, Josh. Belgrano makes a little bit of sense in here as well. Horse that has won 2 straight, has won at both shorter and longer than this races in the last 2, and won the last 2 pretty easily. And I know something Mid-Atlantic shippers, but that horse does make a bit of sense if those 2 last races are legit. Although Junior has been atrocious and it's a little scary.
So Michael brings up By Land and Sea, and you know what? I remember looking at this race before we went live, and I hadn't really thought. I saw this horse, and I was like, I don't really see it. But then, like, I kind of look back at his Kalo's Backyard Parks. I look at his Parks race, right? I know it's a state bred allowance, right? We're at the point where we're looking at a freaking state bred allowance at Parks to try and make a case for a horse. But this horse has at least gotten the lead and has been forwardly placed, and you can't really say the same for a lot of these horses. And you get Jose aboard, and Jose tends to be a little bit more aggressive, I think, on the grass than anybody else. And I think Michael brings up a good point. I mean, Dutro's winning at 30% this year. I mean, everything he's sending in has been live. So I don't fault anybody for liking this horse at 10-1.
Yeah, I think there's also something to be said in a field like this where we're all poking holes in everybody and having not a very hard time poking holes in basically every horse in the field. Sometimes a horse that's a bit of an outsider is the type you like. And I thought, somebody a little more lightly raced like By Land and Sea makes a fair bit of sense. And for the same reasons, I think somebody like A Recipe Red, the 3, also makes a fair bit of sense. Horses that are a little bit of outsiders. Yeah, on paper, they're not fast enough. Neither one of them really is. But at least there's some potential for improvement. There's some potential to, they've figured this one out in a field that I think is pretty darn suspect.
Yeah, I think By Land and Sea makes a ton of sense here. I was a little bit scared off by the work pattern. It's a little bit spotty. Looks like some missed works in the last couple months, or last couple weeks, excuse me. And that's a long way off to come in with some missed works. But more of a technicality. I mean, you get paid to take that risk at 10-1. And I do like the horse. I'm just kind of curious how fit he's going to be for this start.
Does DRF got the 2 lines on that? Or is Brisnet just got a real bad formatting? Because I don't even know why. I was just looking at it, and I didn't even think, because I didn't see the lines. I didn't even realize that Belmont race was from 2020. So
yeah, they only have 1 line on it. I don't know why. It should be about 4 lines, but yeah,
interesting. But yeah, I looked at the horse beforehand, and I was just I was very interested. But then I don't know. I really had to stretch to get there, especially when I really liked Pulsate. But man, that I think using that horse underneath, I think, or I mean, 10-1, like Caleb said, you're getting the price baked in for the kind of risks you're taking with that horse. But let's move on to the Woodward, which is this the first year that they're running it at Belmont?
It's not the first year they're running it at Belmont, but it's the first year in about 30 years that they're running it at Belmont.
All right. Well, the Woodward, we're going to be going a mile and the eighth here. Man, I keep on looking at this division and like expecting there to be a better horse in here somewhere. But I think this might just be what we have. And I feel like we say this every year.
There is the better horse. He's just not running in this way, right?
Well, Nick Sko is, I mean, obviously the better horse, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, what can we say about the older horse division at this point, right? I mean, Tripoli won a horse out west with Tiago aboard. So, I mean, this is where we're at. But we got a field of 6 here of the best and brightest in the older horse division here. Caleb, why don't we start with you? How do you see this one?
Anyone who's watched our stream, I had to pour more bourbon just before I started this race because I just knew. Anyone who's watched this stream has known that I don't think I've ever picked Max Player in any race ever. But he's really supposed to win this race, right? I mean, this is not a good field. I mean, this field is...
Which horse, Caleb? Which horse?
Who did I say?
You said Max Player.
I wish he was running because I would pick him. But instead, I get the inferior Max horse, Max Field. See, my brain doesn't even want me to say
it. You didn't want to say it.
Like,
everything you could do would not
like
say
it's
it.
trying to help me, but this can't be coming to this. But, I mean... I wish there was another horse here I could go to, but like there just isn't. I mean, Dr. Post, I've never heard of that horse in my life. Art Collector, I mean, he was a nice horse as a 3-year-old. He's come back nice at 4, but he also had everything his own way in each of his last 2 starts. And am I really going to take, a horse that comes out of a restricted stakes and then the Charlestown Classic in the Woodward? Like that just feels like such a step up. Mo Gotcha has no chance. Code of Honor, there was a point where he'd be a player in this race, but that point is maybe 2 years ago. I mean, he came back and run an okay race against a bunch of nobodies, but I don't know. I mean, his one race without Lasix was pretty poor in the Pegasus. And then Forza Dioro is the one horse I might try to entertain because he's maybe the least exposed out of all these. But again, I mean, who has he beaten? I mean, he got he's distance compromised in that last race, so I'm not really holding that against him. But, it is certainly a question of who have you really beaten coming out of those Aqueduct races and then an optional claimer at Saratoga. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Max Field is unfortunately going to be very tough to get around in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with Caleb here. I think Max Field should win this, but, he ran a really nice second to Nick's Go in the Whitney. You can't fault him there. And, yeah, I mean, he's supposed to win this, right? But I think I have all the same questions that Caleb brings up. I like Code of Honor a fair bit of it in here. I think Maxfield is your most likely winner, right? Maxfield should win this 50% of the time. But I thought Code of Honor was pretty interesting. I realize, I realize your commentary on it, his best races being, 2 years ago. But he really does like Belmont. He's always run really, really well here. And he's a horse that maybe he's just a bit of a horse for course. I mean, he's never missed a trifecta at Belmont, 3 wins here, won some big races, albeit against some somewhat, suspect fields. And I think Code of Honor makes a fair bit of sense here. And then, I really think that, but I guess stepping back, I can make a case for pretty much every horse in this field. So instead of doing that, I'll say
Mo Gotcha.
Yeah. How about it, Josh?
No, I want you to make a case for Mo Gotcha. You say you can make a case for every horse in this field.
Okay, I can make a case for almost every horse in this field.
That is a 2-cherry horse.
That is a 2-cherry horse. You got the E and you got the 7. So, but you got Jalen Samuel aboard, which I think just knocks the cherries off the tree and the.
I mean, can you make a case that everybody in here hates winning and he goes to the front and just wears it? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if that's the case, Code of Honor wins. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of you can make a case for pretty much everyone with the exception of Mogacha in this race, and I wouldn't. If you have a strong opinion, it's one of those races that get really aggressive. That strong opinion, I really don't. I think I'm 5 deep in here, so basically everybody but Mogacha.
I want to play a game, but I have to find. All right. So, Caleb, our baseline here is going to be Maxfield. All right. I'm going to start naming horses. And you tell me where I need to stop, where you kind of feel like this is the horse that would this horse would definitely beat Maxfield in this field. All right.
Okay.
So let me pull in. Hold on. Can I sort by dirt? I cannot. So I'll have to just remind myself to skip over the turf horses here. All right. So scroll down. All right. Jesus's team. Bourbonic. Rock Your World. Warrant. Mr. Wireless. All right, I'm still Tripoli.
Maybe. What distance are we talking about?
We're talking mile and eighth here.
Is this the Why Aren't They Here game?
I'm going to say no, not Tripoli.
Not Tripoli. We're going to keep going. Who's above Tripoli here? Crap, I lost my spot. Concert Tour.
No.
Well, search results is a Philly. Midnight Bourbon. Jackie's Warrior.
Not at 9 furlongs.
Mandaloon. Is Mandaloon even still in training? I mean,
Okay,
really,
all we got
above that is literally like Latruska, Silver State, Hot Rod Charlie, Medina Spirit, Nick's Going Essential Quality, all who I would definitely take over this.
All of those I would take. I'm on the fence with Tripoli and maybe on the fence with Midnight Bourbon.
Yeah. But
your point is well taken.
Yeah, I mean it's just rough, right? But either way, I think the thing about Maxfield is I always think that Maxfield is going to run into a field where the pace is just going to be too slow, and they always just finds just enough pace for him to make that move. I don't know. I just don't like the only other two horses that I kind of like in the spot are Art Collector and Code of Honor. And at that point, it's like you're taking the second and third choice despite the first choice, and they're all at short prices. So I kind of feel like, I don't know, you take Maxfield as your most likely winner and you kind of move on. But, man, I really just don't like this race.
You care at all or put any stock into the fact that they're adding blinkers in Maxfield?
Not really. I mean, it's a 6-horse field, right? It's not like he's going to lose contact with the field, I don't think, in the spot.
No, I mean, I don't think it's going to change his tactics. It's just one of those things that a horse that has 7 wins from 9 starts, you don't usually see equipment changes. That's just kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I wonder if they're putting real blinks on him, or are they just putting shortcuts?
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of agree with you, Caleb. I have a hard time getting around Maxfield. If I did, I would really probably want to try and get around him with Art Collector, but I just don't feel good about it. It would almost be like being contrarian for contrarian's sake at that point. And I don't know if this is the spot to make a play like that, right? It's different when you're in a spot where the horse is going to be 3 to 5. And your second and third choices might be a little bit longer prices, 5 to 1, 6 to 1, and they're playing as such in horizontals. But I think in this case, it's going to be the only 3 horses taking money are going to be those 3 horses. So I just don't see the value in it in playing against if you feel that Maxfield is actually your most likely winner in the spot. But yeah, anything else on this Belmont card you guys want to touch on?
I haven't really dug in yet. It's a good Belmont card. it feels weird that the Woodward's at Belmont and not at Saratoga, but I really wish Naira would figure out their older male stakes schedule and sort it out a little bit better so that you didn't have 3 races that they're all gunning for, which are all way too close to each other. But that's Naira for me. You know, apparently they don't actually understand what horses run and what races, and if they would figure that out, it would be great.
It looks like Inopva was not a fan of me listing horses and having Caleb guess. But so the funny story is that's actually a bit from a fantasy football podcast I used to listen, or I listened to again now, Fantasy Focus. They would play what's called a name game. They would just start listing. They'd be like, this fantasy player is horrible. And so they would start listing players until they got to one that they would take over them. But apparently it doesn't play with horses. I don't know. I figured I'd try something. But let's move on to Santa Anita here. Race 8, the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. We're going to take a look at these last 4 races here on the stakes-laden card at Santa Anita. We got a nice field of 6. It's a very competitive field. Caleb, I believe, can we give a little preview that you might be having a little HRN article coming out speaking about this race. So
yeah, we'll give you a little sneak peek. For the last 2 weeks, I've somehow successfully faded 2 favorites and been correct on both counts. Even gave out the winner last week at Parks with Magic Michael, which was nice. So
it was Parks. You have an unfair advantage.
That's true. This week, I think this 8th race might be the one I'll be looking at because I think we have an incredibly vulnerable favorite in this race. Almost feels like a gimme. Debated not doing the race, but this horse is actually even shorter in the overseas fixed market than it is on the morning line, which I was so surprised to see. But not a big fan of the favorite in this race.
And who's the favorite in this race?
Dr. Scheibel, number 1.
Not to be confused with the janitor from the Queen's Gambit, Mr. Scheibel.
I don't know.
So who do you like in this spot then instead of the favorite, the one here?
I like 2 horses in this spot actually. Well, 2.5. My top selection is actually I'm going back to a well that has cost me money lately, but I think might be not as bad as it appears, which is the 6 Collusion Illusion. I think this is a horse that was really, really nice as a 3-year-old, and then something just kind of went awry toward the tail end of that season. But the results are worse than it appears. I mean, the Breeders' Cup Sprint, there's a lot of horses that didn't show up that day. I'm not going to hold that one against him. And then in the Malibu, that despite the fact that he ran 3rd by 5, I mean, he was beaten by Charlatan, who was clear 4.5 lengths. That was a good race. That Malibu was actually an incredibly stacked race for what's turned out to be a really nice group of 3-year-old colts at the time. I mean, obviously we know that Charlatan, a little injury prone, but is certainly a talented horse in and of himself. Express Train is a multiple grade 6 winner. Nashville was in that race, Independence Hall, and then 1,000 Turds. So, we had about 4 really good horses in that race and also 1,000 words. But nevertheless, there were some good races there. The last race, the turf race, that seems pretty obviously like a prep race. That clearly was never the intention to get him to all of a sudden become a turf horse. So I think he had kind of knocked the rust off. He went out there and stretched his legs. That was never the goal. And I think that he really makes a good bit of sense here. He isn't the fastest horse in the race on his recent figures, but I kind of expect him to step forward off of some of those, like the Malibu and the Santa Anita sprint efforts. He does seem to have his best races at Santa Anita, really in California, but specifically Santa Anita. The one time he tried to ship, it didn't go very well. And the other reason I kind of like him is that I watched his recent work on September 25th, and he worked in blinkers for the first time. And he looked like a different horse working in blinkers. His work on September 18th was actually pretty poor. He looked like he was struggling to keep up with a workmate he should have crushed. But on the 25th, he came back in a group of 3 and was really just dominant in a group of 3. He was 8 lengths clear, something to the company. Posted a solid time. They broke from the gate that day, so it's probably a little quicker than it looks. And I think the blinkers are going to make the difference, going to keep him in the race a little bit more early, and is certainly a horse that I think makes a lot of sense here, and you're getting a pretty square price at 4-1. So there's two horses I like to hear, but I know the other one's going to be a fairly common pick. So I'll leave that to Mark or Josh.
So Caleb likes a horse that Juan Hernandez is riding, so we can just toss the horse.
We can toss the horse. Yeah,
we can just toss the horse.
Yeah. So you might want to put that in your HRN article. We want to make sure that we're not misleading the people.
That is true.
Mark, who do you like? Do you like Caleb's other horse?
I think I like Caleb's other horse, who I know Josh likes. And that would be Vertical Threat. Vertical Threat is the speed of the speed in this race. He should get all sorts of loose here, as loose as they want to be with him. And a horse that likes to win, likes this distance. He's 3 for 4 at the distance. Yeah, and I think he probably pops the gate, goes to the lead, and we know Santa Anita is just about as speed favoring as a track can get. I don't know if anybody can get to him. And I think if you get anywhere near 6-1, you are getting all sorts of value there.
Any concern that his worst race was off Lasix by far, and this is also off Lasix?
I'm somebody, I know we've talked about this a couple times. I tend to excuse one race. I'll give him one shot. Now, if he fires a clunker off Lasix again, I would never bet him off Lasix again. But I tend to give horses an excuse that something, they weren't feeling well, something happened that day, and I'll give them another shot. I think at that price for a horse that is the definition of lone speed on paper, I think that one makes a ton of sense.
Oh, in OTWL over here, loving your pick, Mark. So he does seem like the play is 6-1.
I'm thinking, I know you're on Vertical Threat.
Dude, I am not on. How could you think I'm on Vertical Threat? Did you see who else is entered in this race?
Josh is going to pick Flagstaff.
Josh is going to pick Flagstaff.
Who? Who?
Yeah, Flagstaff.
I've never heard of this horse.
You've never heard of this horse? I believe this is the horse that put Whitmore into the old folks' home. Sent him into retirement. Sent him into retirement.
Oh.
But no, I really did not like Dr. Scheibel in the spot. I actually like the two other short price horses in CZ Rocket and Flagstaff in this spot. I don't understand. I mean, they're the two classiest horses in this race, and I know class doesn't matter, but I mean, these horses have run the best races out of anybody else in this field. And I think with CZ Rocket, I'm a little bit more concerned with his recent form. It seems like he's just like kind of tailing off, and I don't know. I know we kind of excused that Sexton mile because he was going a mile and it was slop, and he's come back to sprinting and hasn't really been the same horse as he was last year. So that does concern me a little bit. But like, if we're talking morning line odds at 5-2 over Dr. Scheibel at 2-1, like absolutely, I would rather bet CZ Rocket. I mean, my top pick here is definitely Flagstaff. I think Flagstaff is a very versatile sprinter type. He can do it from the front end. He can do it off the front end, just off. He, is 7 out of 9 in the trifecta at Santa Anita. Has won 4 of 9 of those. Concern might be that. I don't know if I think this distance could maybe be too sharp for him, but I don't know if he's just been snake bitten in the past at this distance, or if this is a little sharp for him. But I think at 7-2, I think that's a pretty fair price on Flagstaff, and I think he's probably the most likely winner in this spot.
Yeah, so the Sweet Sassy one was asking a question. He was saying, any concern with the track being slow and tiring, like it can oftentimes be early on in the meet. I think there are certain. First off, you have a few races here to figure out if that is the case. Look at fractions, look at how the pace dynamics are playing, and see if speed is not holding. And if that's the case, then I think you make some adjustments. You have some time before this race, obviously being the 8th. I think that there are horses in here that, if it is playing that way, are suspect on getting the distance if it's playing deep. But Vertical Threat is not one of them. Vertical Threat has won at longer, so he's a horse that I feel can get the distance. Again, somebody like Dr. Scheibel, a Colt Fiction, maybe even somebody like a CZ, horses that I don't know if they can get a little bit further if there is a deep tiring track.
I want to bring up something that I just saw us all get messaged from Hollywood Dave. Hollywood Dave is Hollywood Dave a fan of Cult Fiction in this spot? Did I misread his message?
No, I think you did misread his message.
Right there.
I think he's implying that. I don't know. Is he talking about the pace dynamic of the race, and Cult Fiction should be, on that early pace or close to it?
Oh, he just said a little bit. He likes Cult Fiction a little bit.
Man,
Giovanni Franco, dude. Now the interesting thing is Caleb and I have talked about this numerous times offline. Talking about the run styles and the pace figures from Brisnet. How much agree, disagree, or whatever with them. But Cult Fiction's the only needed lead type in this race, which was part of the reason why, like I said, I thought I really did like Flagstaff here, just because I think that if anything stupid does happen on the front end, I think Flagstaff can sit just off and kind of make that first run. But
Flagstaff's the easiest race or horse for me to handicap, because I look at the race and I ask myself, is this race 7 furlongs? And if the answer is no, then I don't need to look at him anymore, and I can move on to the rest of the field.
Michael's saying would be really good for horse racing to see the great people of my racehorse fill out the exacta. Oh no, is that Collusion Illusion? Who else does my racehorse own?
Vertical Threat.
Oh, they also got Vertical Threat. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
well, so hey, you might
root for Peter Miller and CZ Rock.
Yeah, right.
Well, with the My Racehorse money, there's going to be value there.
Well, so here's the thing: at what price do you bet a horse like Dr. Scheibel? I know we just shit on him. Is there a price where Dr. Scheibel makes sense to you?
Yeah, but you look at him, and he's just not fast enough. I mean, I know he won, but one of two things has to be true. Either the race that he won in the Bing Crosby is much faster than the speed figures came up, and it's not just Briz, it's slow on time for him, and even a little slow on Beyer.
It's slow on Beyer as well, yeah.
Or that all the main contenders didn't show up that day, and he got really lucky. I mean, that's kind of the two ways I look at it, because none of his races are fast enough to win, including the one that he actually won. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I guess there's a race he makes sense, but if you're chasing him, you're probably chasing the results of that Ben Crosby, as well as the fact that Flavian Pratt sticks on this Mark Glatt horse as opposed to Collusion Illusion, which I would need 6-1 probably, which is not going to happen.
Wow.
I was going to say more like 4-1 kind of range, but I mean, none of his last 4 races, which he won all of, are fast enough on paper to, win this. And I realize not all, they don't run races on paper, as Caleb likes to tell me. But I also think from a pace dynamic, he's kind of up against it from a pace scenario as well. I mean, he's going to have a lot more work to do late than he's had to do in those last couple of races. So yeah, I think he's really up against it.
I mean, I think it's going to be just a really fun race to watch.
Totally.
From a StableDuel perspective, I don't know. I mean, I would probably just take either Flagstaff or one of the higher priced horses at this point, because
I think from a StableDuel standpoint, Vertical Threat makes a ton of sense.
Vertical Threat,
I think that's a horrible morning line, and I think this is the kind of horse that at worst finishes in the trifecta.
But did we hold on? I didn't look at. No one's got to play in this race. No. Okay, Mark, we'll get back to yours. I know yours is a little bit earlier, but oh, and speaking, so we're gonna go to the next race 9, but the first on Friday, they're going back down the hill, aren't they?
They are.
They even have a stakes race, don't they?
Yeah, Eddie Reed.
Yeah, I thought for some reason I thought it was Saturday, but I think I just got my dates mixed up. But I thought we were going to talk about it, but yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited to see the downhill turf come back. Man, you guys are just so mean. See you guys typing, calling poor Hollywood Dave insane. Come on. But yeah, we're gonna be going a mile and a quarter here on the Rodeo Drive on the turf. We got the return of one of Caleb's favorite horses in dog tag, and who our morning line favorite here is going to be 5-2 on Going to Vegas. You got Luck at 3-1, Dog Tag at 4-1, Magic Attitude, Neige Blanche, and then you just got, I don't know, a bunch of also ran. So, Caleb, talk to me about Dog Tag.
No.
If you need a horse for the bottom of your exacta, Dog Tag is your horse.
Yeah, if you want to bet a horse that looks like she's going to win and then just breaks your heart, Dog Tag is the horse to bet. She's like the, like I would say the West Coast Altia, but Altia's on the West Coast now, so I don't know what she is.
After Jakarta, has kind of left my life. I could use a little bit more heartbreak, so maybe Dog Tag can.
Yeah, but that little letter in parentheses after Dog Tag, I don't think she's your type.
That's true. There's a P.
Yeah, no, Dog Tag is going to run her race, and she's the most likely horse by a mile to hit the board. But I don't think she can win. She doesn't have that killer instinct. Second 4 times in a row. I have no interest in Dog Tag on top, and I hope she takes money because she won't be on any of my tickets.
So who will be on your ticket then, Caleb?
Who will be on my ticket? Well, thanks for asking. I do think the favorite here is tough. It's not a favorite who I think really towers over the field, going to Vegas, number 4. But she's done all that she's been asked to. I mean, she's consistent, and she has a massive pace advantage in a field that has no speed. Once again, I mean, there's not any pace in here. So I like going to Vegas. 5-2, I think is fair, very fair, actually. I don't know if you'll get that. I think it's a very fair price. And she would probably be the most likely winner here. I do have a passing interest in the number 7 Magic Attitude. I think that this horse has been just facing much, much better horses on the East Coast, running against, Alfica, Summer Romance, Mean Mary, Thundering Knights. Those are all significant. Those are legitimate, Breeders' Cup caliber fillies and mares. She also caught some soft going in each of her last 2. I know it's listed as good that day on July 17th, but I do tend to think
it was not good.
It was not good that day. That was like the first week of the meet, and it was pretty yielding at best. And she just doesn't seem like she handles that quite so well. Her better races in the States have come over some firmer ground. So I do think that she'll appreciate the California turf. But my big concern with her is just there doesn't seem to be enough pace in here to set up her late kick. I wish there was a little more speed signed on, but she is one that, 5 or 6 to 1 that I think I would be interested in just getting some class relief and getting back to firm turf.
Yeah, Caleb just literally talked about the 2 horses I was going to talk about. We're on the same exact horses with the same exact opinions. I think going to Vegas is your most likely winner. And I think Magic Attitude makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I don't think I really need to dig more here because I'm going to say the exact same thing Caleb said. I did have a bit of a question. I know Caleb doesn't play jocks or jock moves as much as I tend to, but I was sort of wondering what your take was on the Pratt Rispoli swap with Pratt or with Rispoli, or I should say Rispoli getting back on going to Vegas and Pratt getting up on Luck, who Rispoli was on last time out.
Yeah, I looked at that, and you're right. I don't pay as much attention to that. My guess would tend to be that, Rispoli, given the fact he rode both, not just rode both, but actually, rode both to victory.
Yep.
I would tend to think he had a choice here, and he ends up going with Vegas. But I really don't know. This was a tricky situation because Pratt does typically ride for Baltus a little bit more than Rispoli does, so. I wasn't sure, but I do have to think that Rispoli ended up having choice. Unless the Luck is truly a monster, which I'm not totally convinced that she is. It's hard to imagine Pratt willfully getting off going to Vegas to ride Luck, in my opinion.
Jimmy Two is a big fan of Luck to run them all down.
Visually, her last race was incredible. She looked so good, just dominating that field. And maybe it's more of an LNJ Foxwoods kind of deal where they do put Pratt up more often than Rispoli for the ownership group. But that is a LNJ homebred. I don't know, but visually I agree with you. But I do kind of wonder, this is a step up. This is a much better field than what she faced there. So 3 to 1 is not the right price for Luck. I would need better than that, but she is a nice filly for sure.
Yeah, and my thing with luck is there's a big difference between an optional 40 and a G1. That's quite the step up, whereas you can look pretty visually impressive versus an optional 40 field and then look pretty damn terrible versus a G1 field. So where you have, horses like Going to Vegas who are, proven at this level. They have run, maybe not won G1s, but they've run well in G1s. So I think I had the exact same take as you. I would assume Pasta had choice here, and he lands or he stays. Well, I should say goes back to Going to Vegas.
It sounds like you're talking about class.
I've heard that doesn't matter, but occasionally it does.
Well, I mean, I think somebody picked.
It's sort of like the sheets; they're wrong until they're not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't someone a big fan of Speaker's Corner last out, going from an N1X?
Yeah, and somebody didn't somebody hate the Chad horse who was the favorite at Belmont who ran going away? Yeah.
Going against the 1-5, a little more bold, but I was actually trying to get for Josh. I thought he liked that horse more than you.
Yeah, I actually, you guys do know I'm a fan of Going to Vegas because I go to Vegas 4 times a year. But I think Going to Vegas is going to be tough to beat in this spot. I think the horse that I'll probably use in StableDuel, or if I were to play any kind of contest, I think I'm going to go with the 3. Neige Blanche. What's wrong with Neige Blanche, Mark? Why are you just like looking around?
You do you.
No. Anyways, I think Neige Blanche is going to be the horse coming late, and I don't think Neige Blanche is. I think Neige Blanche is going to sit a decent trip. I don't know if. Sorry, is it he or she? She. Thank you. So I don't think she's going to be able to outkick, Going to Vegas if Going to Vegas has got a significant lead on her. So I think this is more of like an underneath play. And at 8-1, you're just going to be, you're going to be saving a little bit of salary there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Neige Blanche, finishes second in this race. But I think, Going to Vegas is going to be really tough to beat here. And 5-2 is, I think, a very fair price. And I don't think you're going to get 5-2 live. But
I guess my thing with Neige Blanche is in that Santa Barbara, she won a race where, again, I know Caleb has brought this up a lot of time. A lot of times these older horses, they kind of run a mile and a half because, they sort of run out of things to run against. And she sort of tripped out and happened to be one of the only horses in the field that could get the distance. And I think she just came back and is what, one of, I know Red Lark was in the field, but that last out, I don't think she really beat anybody. And her figures at this distance are just not fast enough to be competitive in this race.
Yeah, I think she could hit the board.
She could hit the board. She wouldn't shock me top 4, but
StableDuel perspective, probably a good pick. But on top of my pick 5, I don't think I'll have her.
The thing is I haven't. Neige Blanche hasn't caught like an actual like honest pace in forever. So I'd be interested to see what would happen if we actually get an honest pace. I don't know if this is the spot for it, because I don't think that there's a ton of speed in here. No, I mean I think Going to Vegas is going to have it all her way. So I mean it's just going to be tough. But I really do want to see Neige Blanche run a race where there's actually some kind of speed entered, because I think that's what she probably wants. But
that's a good angle, though. I mean, I didn't catch it the first through, but you're right. She has actually closed somewhat respectably into some pretty slow paces. I don't think this is a spot because I don't think she's going to get a fast pace today or Saturday, but something to keep an eye on. That's a good point.
I mean, she's beaten some of the other horses that are in the spot. Like she's beaten Dog Tag, she's beaten Ride for the Cause. I mean, I know Ride for the Cause is a long shot, but I think that she makes sense. She's a real good candidate to hit for second, and maybe finish a length or two behind and not get totally blown out. But yeah, and like I said, like that's a horse I'll take a shot with in any type of contest format. So, but let's move on to the awesome again, and guys, we got the return of just. I don't know, man. We got the return of midcourt, and we got Medina Spirit coming back. 5-2 on a morning line. I find that kind of laughable that they would make this horse 5-2 on the morning line, but we got actually a full field of 8 for this race, and this might be Medina Spirit's toughest spot. I mean, besides the Derby. I mean, the Derby's just something completely different, but I think this is going to be a pretty tough spot, I think, here for Medina Spirit. What do you guys think?
I think Medina Spirit is one of those horses that it probably goes off at what in this field, 7-5, 6-5, maybe even shorter. But the odds of the odds that he goes off at are not going to very well be reflected in his chances of winning. I think this is a pretty salty field. I don't think it's a great field. I don't think there's any monsters in here, but this is a pretty darn salty field. And I think you're going to get a real class test here. Arguably, this is the best field he's ever had to go against.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think this is a tough spot. Before I don't want to launch to a 20-minute tirade about how much I don't like Medina Spirit.
Oh, come on, do it.
I'll launch into a 15-minute tirade about how much I don't like Medina Spirit. He's just not that good. I mean, he won the Kentucky Derby, yes, but he won the Kentucky Derby when they souped up the track and you couldn't close, and he rebroke in the stretch like only Bob Baffert horses do somehow. And he came back and he got exposed in the Preakness, which I think was the real Medina Spirit. I mean, Midnight Bourbon, dueled him and put him away comfortably before getting run down by Rombauer, who then did nothing in the Belmont. So, I just don't think he's that good. I mean, the Shared Belief is always kind of a joke of a race. It's a shame because he was a nice horse, but the stakes named after him is not very good. And it feels like there's a lot of horses in here that want to be near the lead. I mean, Tis a Magician is pretty close to a one-dimensional horse who needs the lead. I mean, can he go with Medina Spirit? I don't know, because he is cutting back quite a bit from those marathons. But he probably, with the rail draw and his run style, he has to be involved early. I mean, Midcourt hasn't passed many horses in his career. Probably wants to be forwardly placed. Stiletto Boy, has no chance, but it is Kent, and he's possesses some early speed as well. Medina Spirit obviously wants to be forwardly placed.
It's also the start of the month, so...
Exactly.
So you got to pay the rent.
That is true. First start of the month, you got to keep that in mind. But yeah, I think he gets pace pressure in here. I think he's facing older horses for the first time, which is always a challenge. And the thing that bothers me the most about Medina Spirit is the fact that he scratched out of the Pennsylvania Derby because he, quote unquote, did not like the post. I mean, apparently, post 8 was fine for the Kentucky Derby, but post 9 in the Pennsylvania Derby is just unacceptable. So I leave it, who am I to question Bob Baffert? But to me, that sounds like garbage. The one time he used a similar excuse, I don't like the post when he scratched a horse, was when he scratched McKenzie out of the Bing Crosby, I believe. And he was like post 4 or some other like equally innocent post. And he blamed it on the post. I don't think that was the reason he scratched. And McKenzie ran terribly in his next start and then was retired. I kind of wonder if we're going to see something similar with Medina Spirit, where he's just not that fit. He's not that ready. And that's the real reason why he did not ship and run in the Pennsylvania Derby. So yeah,
he also did that move with Improbable at Oak Lawn. Remember?
Yes. But at least that was a genuine, that was like post 15 going a flat mile at Oak Lawn, which is, that was tough. I mean, it's not post 4 in a 6-horse field like he did with McKenzie, or post 9 in, at Parks. There's kind of no excuse for that. So for me, I don't want Medina Spirit. He won't be on a single ticket of mine. He can beat me.
Oh, I guess the scoring is no longer incoming. I think it's already done.
It has in and his came.
Yeah, no, it's I actually, this is one of the spots I think that I'm gonna make one of my StableDuel plays here, and I really like Idle in the spot. I think with looking at the pace scenario, at least on paper, I mean, we'll have to see if we get any scratches or anything like that here. I think if like a horse like Stiletto Boy scratches, then I think it might make things a little bit easier on Medina Spirit. But I think Idle here at 5-1 on the morning line, $6,000. I think that this is a genuine win candidate in the spot. I love that race. The Santa Anita handicap, the big cap, and there have been a lot of great horses to win that race, such as Combatant, the newest stallion in, I forgot where he's standing, but I had to make a Combatant joke there. But Yeah, no, I really like Idol in the spot. You get Joe Bravo aboard, which is I think a little bit of a downgrade from Joel Rosario, especially from an off the pace horse. But Joe's been riding decent out west, so I don't think it's too much to worry about here. But I just think Idol's going to sit the trip here. I think he's going to sit just off the pace, and I think he's going to get that first run. And I don't think he finishes worse than second in the spot. So I think at $6,000 in StableDuel, it's a great play. 5-1 in the morning line is a very fair price, and if that floats up at all, like I'll definitely be going to the window for a win bet there. That's bananas. He definitely agrees that the post scratch sounded real sketchy. And Jimmy Two Eyes asking if this should be a G3. I mean,
there's some good horses.
It's a good. I've seen worse grade ones, to be sure.
Yeah, I've seen worse grade ones in the last 2 weeks. I mean, this is a fairly decent field. There's some legitimate horses in here, and the thing is, who else do you want to be in here who's not? Like, I think all of the major players on the West Coast are sort of here. This is everybody showing up, and I think this is a good race. It's going to be a good class test. You're going to know who's legit coming out of that out of the California scene after this. But
question: which field do you take? Do you take the field from the Woodward, or do you take the field from the Awesome Again? Let's say that you could be an owner, right? You could own the entire field of the Awesome Again or the entire field of the Woodward. Which one do you take?
There's more horses in the Awesome Again, so you'd probably go that way.
You and your fucking math, you ruin. Okay, Caleb, you use your. I like your simple thinking better than Mark's.
Yeah. I would probably have to take the Woodward. I just think there's a little more proven talent in the Woodward. I mean, with Maxfield and Code of Honor, and then and which also kind of gives you some more unexposed horses like Art Collector and Forza d'Oro. Whereas in the Awesome Again, I know who Midcourt is. I know who Tis Magician is. Azul Coast, not even once. I mean, there's just I do like Idol. I agree with you, Josh. I like Idol. I read that Baltus is on the record saying he's not cranked at all for this race, and that he's better going 10 furlongs compared to 9. So that's the reason I didn't go for him. But I do really like Idol as a horse. But yeah, I would take the Woodward over this field.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. That prop bet is hard. I would tend to agree that the Woodward's probably got a better field. Just I think there's some better horses there. But I think if you were playing a StableDuel in here, and I know Caleb's going to beat up on me, but I like Midcourt here on that morning line. You're getting 12-1 on Midcourt from a morning line standpoint. It's a horse that can he win? I mean, maybe if everything falls perfectly in place, he can win. But second or third, I think is where he kind of ends up. I think he's a horse that for very little amount of spend, you get a horse that he loves hitting the board. He always runs well. His figures fit here. He makes sense. He likes Santa Anita. All the things that you sort of want. And at 12-1, I think there's just a ton of value in Midcourt from a StableDuel perspective.
Man, I'm looking at Midcourt's running lines, and I'm just getting what's it, PTSD looking at some of the horses that he's run against. Do you guys remember Gift Box? You guys remember Gift Box?
Wow, no. Gift Box.
235.
I remember him. Yeah.
Multiplier.
Turf horse.
Higher power.
Horse.
I mean, man.
Ooh.
That
was some dark days for California.
Anything else in this race, Mark? Who do you think's the winner here, Mark? I know you talked a little bit from StableDuel perspective, but
yeah, I mean, I think I ended up on. I have 3 A's in here. I used Tis Magician, Midcourt, and in Tripoli. I think those are the 3 horses that all sort of like the track. All were fast enough, I thought, to win. And, I think morning lines, I think you're going to see a lot of movement from morning lines. I think there's certain horses like Tripoli, I think will drift up quite a lot. I thought morning lines were kind of bad in this race. And this is a race where I'm probably a little more spready. I really do like this late pick 5 sequence, but I think this is one of the races in here that I'm a bit spready.
I like, and I'm curious if anybody else likes, my second pick in here after who the fuck did I pick in here? I didn't pick anyone. I hated on Medina Spirit.
Medina Spirit, yeah.
I didn't actually pick. Well, my pick then was actually Express Train, and I know this horse has hurt me before, but I just think they keep trying to run this horse too far. You know, they keep trying to throw him into these 1.25 mile races, and I just don't really think that's what he wants to do. That you draw a line through his 4 tries, or his 3 tries, 1.25 miles, and then his 1 turf race, and all of a sudden his form looks way better. You know? And I just think that makes a lot of sense. You know, cutting back to the 9 furlongs here, I think that the Pacific Classic, he just did not show up that day. That was a weird race where it was dominated on the front end by the leader and the second place horse the whole way. Nobody made up a ton of ground. The track was playing a bit funny that day. And it's also probably farther than he wants to go. I still think he's a nice horse, and he's probably one that I would have a lot of interest in. And at 4 to 1, I think it's a fair price.
I was laughing because I saw, Express Trains by Union Rags. I'm like, what are they going to do next? Try and run this horse on turf? And they've already have.
They tried for God knows what reason.
Yeah, he does sort of scream like the horse that they've thrown a little bit of everything at, quite honestly, and can't quite figure it out. Obviously, he's talented. I would say a very talented horse. He wouldn't be a shocker if he won this. Not my top pick. There's other horses I like more, but I don't hate on him. I'm not going to hate on him. I think I would not love him at 4 to 1 from a win perspective. I think his price on the morning line is a little short, but I think you're going to get a taller price because Medina Spirit's going to take money. So yeah. You're probably going to get 6 to 1 on him. And I think at 6 to 1, he's a great value play.
Lines in this race are weird. Midcourt and Tripoli both kind of are hard for me to understand. Midcourt will be shorter than 12 to 1, and I think Tripoli will be longer than 3 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my thing. It was a little hard. Like, I handicapped it on paper, and then I looked at the lines, and I'm like, what is up with this? This just makes no sense. So,
all right, guys, our last race for the day. We got the John Henry Turf Championship here. Grade 2, going 1.25 miles. It says downhill turf. This is because they got that little downhill thing at the start. But, yeah, we got United at 5 to 2 here on the morning line. And he looks real tough in this spot. Caleb, did you try to write your article here against United?
No.
Did that cross your mind at all?
It did cross my mind. I kind of had to assume United would be the favorite in this race, even though he's been beaten by a couple of today's foes, a couple of times, actually. I flirted with the idea, but I kind of just lacked any real conviction to have a solid reason as to why he can't win today or can't win on Saturday. He seems to be in every other race kind of horse. It sort of feels like last time would have been the time to play against him. He did have a pretty questionable ride in that race. He found some traffic when he probably shouldn't have, and may have been best. I mean, it remains to be seen. But I think there was a reason to play against him last time, but it feels like this horse was built to go 10 furlongs at Santa Anita. I think he's your most likely winner, so I couldn't really go against him too aggressively.
Mark, are you also on the United train here?
Yeah, I'm on the United train. I know that whole thing about giving a horse an excuse, that actually was from a United conversation 2 or 3 races back where he ran a clunker. And I said, there's certain times where you sort of have to give a horse an excuse. And he came out the next time and won. And also, if you look at United's form, he is your quintessential every other horse. And this is the every, loves Santa Anita. This is his distance. He's 50% of the distance. He's 5 of 11 at Santa Anita. If you get 5 to 2, he's a win bet candidate. I'll win bet him at 5 to 2. And I think he's a horse that, in something like a pick 5, you can even get a little adventurous and kind of single A him, get a little cheap on the back end. I really like United. I've liked this horse for a very long time. He's the player in the West Coast turf division, and he's very talented. And you're getting a big field, so you're going to get some value on him. So I'm a huge United fan. I know Caleb's going to talk about a horse in here he likes at a price that I also happen to like. So tee him up, and you can make the banner go.
Yeah, Caleb, talk to me about this 12 here, Friars Road.
Yeah, Friars Road. So this is a horse that, is not the most likely winner in this race, like by no stretch of the imagination. That honor belongs to United. But 15-1 is just like a silly bad line, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, the post is not ideal, but we're going 1.25 miles and we're going down the hill. So generally, it's a little bit favorable to be outside drawn when you go down the hill, even though it's kind of starting in the bend. I'm not too worried about it. Everyone's going to be trying to get over to save ground, and I think those inside positions might get pinched a little bit. So I'm not too worried about the post. This horse gets a monumental class test here because that optional 40 was not particularly good. But he beat that field the way that a grade 2 winner should. I mean, he went out there, he stalked a moderate pace and just drew away under a hand ride like he was out there just going for a Sunday morning stroll. I mean, Rispoli had a number of options in this race. I mean, he's rode a horse like Cupid's Claws. He's rode Red King a ton in his career. He also rode Media Blitz last out. I mean, he had some options. And I know I'm not a huge follow the jock game, but when it's the best or second best turf jock in the colony, and he's rode a number of horses before and ends up on a 15-1 shot, I think you have to pay attention. The speed figure came back incredibly honest. He should stay the distance considering he just got 1 mile and 3/8. And I think this horse is really sneaky. I don't think he'll get anywhere near 15-1. You might get half that. But from StableDuel, I love this horse.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. All the things you said. The other thing is I love these horses who, and I love to bet them back where they've sort of run, he's got effectively dirtied up form. They tried to make him a dirt horse, and I have no idea what the hell Michael McCarthy was thinking, because if you look at that pedigree, he kind of screams turf horse top and bottom, but they ran him a bunch on the dirt. He has all these kind of clunking up, and he ran okay and, won a maiden 50 and just never did anything special. First time on turf, and he pops. And when you find those kind of horses, you oftentimes can get value with the fact that, they have this dirtied up a lot of running lines and they haven't won a lot. But yeah, they finally got the right surface for him, which is clearly turf. And then he ran a huge effort. So I really like Friars Road. I think Friars Road is probably your second most likely winner in this race, quite honestly.
Second most likely winner in this race. I almost choked.
I mean, who would you give? Okay, United's probably your likeliest winner, right? I mean, you would probably agree with that, right, Josh?
Oh yeah, I think United's gonna be really tough here. I think United's the type of horse that at 5-2 is an overlay on StableDuel. So I think that you use United in a spot, like you pay up for United in here. Okay. The other horses I think that might have a shot. I mean, I actually do like Acclimate a little bit in the spot, only because there doesn't seem to be very much speed in the spot. Why are you laughing?
Caleb's eyes almost fell out of his head when you said that. He literally, his eyes rolled so far you could see them coming out this corner.
I mean, look at it's a lone E8.
There's a buttload of speed in here. Neptune Storm and
there's tons of speed in here. He's not going to get loose, and that tactical speed is not going to help him. Yeah. And he's a desperate need the lead type.
Yeah, but the thing is, Neptune Storm is stretching out. Neptune Storm is stretching out. Because Neptune Storm normally runs a mile. I don't know. I looked at Neptune Storm a little bit because I was also like you said, I was a little worried about him going full send. But Mark, who is the jock on Neptune Storm?
I've heard Florent Giroux.
Yeah. What are the chances you think that Florent Giroux is going to go full send on Neptune Storm?
0.
Okay. So, anyways, I think Acclimate. I mean, he's gotten the lead in his last 5-6 races. So I mean, he's going. But like you said, the only way that he wins this is if he gets left alone. And the chance of that happening, I don't know. But I think if he gets left alone, then there's a shot he steals this from United. Hence why I think that he's a little bit more of a likely winner, because I see that more happening than. I don't know, 12. I mean, Neptune Storm, I tried to make a case for, but I just don't think. I think the horse is a miler. I don't know why they're stretching the horse out. I mean, I guess the bottom end there's a little bit of distance, but yeah, I couldn't really get past United in this spot. I had a really hard time. I mean, Mark, you pretty much explained it perfectly. The horse's form cycle. It's an every other type horse. We're coming right into the right form here. And anything 1.25 miles plus, and it seems like United is fine. he's 3 for 6 at the distance. He's only missed a trifecta once, and I don't even remember the last time that was that was 3 races ago, and I don't remember what happened, but I think, like you said, form cycle. This is United's race to lose. So
yeah, he was really flat in that Whittingham, and I remember that was the race. Caleb kind of had brought up. I think going into that first Del Mar race, sort of along the lines of, how do you excuse that last race? And sometimes you just have to kind of go. And sometimes, occasionally, they're horses. They're not machines. They throw a clunker occasionally. I
mean, he finished 4th. Like you might see it, and he finished 4th, but he finished 4th by 3/4 of a length. Like, he barely missed. Like he was probably like 1 or 2 jumps away from winning that race. So let's not get ready to sound the alarms on that. Matthew DeSantis there is saying that he loves Friars Road, only scratching the surface of his potential on turf.
Yeah, I tend to very much what I was saying. Yeah, same thing. I think it's one of those horses. When you see those horses that have a ton of starts and they haven't really figured the horse out, and they do a surface change or a distance or whatever, and they suddenly pop. They really show that they love it. They tend to be ones that really excel at that, and I think he's got a lot of upside there.
Yeah, Michael's bringing up a little bit of a strategy point here. He says he likes Friars Road. He's a big McCarthy fan, but from a StableDuel perspective, he has a tough time taking a horse in a 13-horse field on a card of 5 to 6 horse fields. Caleb, as the reigning StableDuel expert, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I don't know. I got my ass kicked at Parks in StableDuel last weekend, but yeah, I mean that's a very good point. Field size certainly plays a role in picking which races you're going to attack. That is probably doubly important when you have an 11-race card, so you don't have to play. You can't play every race, and in fact, you probably if you like to double up in some of the short fields, you're not playing multiple races on the card. So I think that's a very valid point. I just think it depends on your opinions. If you really like a horse like United and you think he's a lock to run second or better, I think he's usable here. But if you just kind of like United or you have no real opinion in this race, then I think it's a good spot to skip. For me, Friars Road at 15-1 will be a play because, while you also have small fields are easier to get points, but you also have higher morning lines due to the small fields. So there is a balance. You don't get too many 15-1s that have win or place potential in 5-horse fields. So it just depends on what your opinions are, but it's a good thing to consider.
Yeah, I probably tend to approach a little bit too much of a classic win-place style tournament structure. But, isn't there a huge variance factor with a larger field, even in StableDuel, where you're spreading out all that everybody who's playing's opinions across a bigger field? If you can find those outsider-type horses that have a huge amount of upside for a low expected value, isn't there a low price, I guess? Doesn't it inherently lead to StableDuel value? It's more I don't, I'm not the StableDuel expert here.
No, it definitely can. There's definitely something to be said for, kind of taking zigging when the crowd zags or anything else. And I think if you can, find a horse, especially a value horse in a large field, where the public is going to more likely avoid the race or maybe go fishing for bombs or whatever else. You can definitely separate yourself that way. And, I think in effect, get a higher return on what you're actually putting up in StableDuel.
That's Bananas asking the real question. Normally, a question we answer at the beginning is, what is everybody drinking? Caleb, what do you got there in your glass?
Nothing right now. I actually need to refill. I started off with a little bit of Blanton's, and then I switched to some Scotch. Actually, I finished off some Glenmorangie 18, and now I'm gonna go back to a store pick of Blanton's because that probably needs. I can't finish that off, but
there's been a couple times where I think we played some Rainbow Six Siege at night, and that much got finished.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Tonight's not.
He's had a rough week at work, so
yeah, this is my therapy session.
Josh breaking out the good stuff.
Yeah, I got a little bit left of this Weller Antique 107 that I got from friend of the show Joe Marcello. So
nice.
And I figured we were covering the ARC cards, so I got myself a little champagne. Because
I love champagne, and I love
red or something, man.
Dude, champagne drunk is probably like
the best drunk.
Yeah. The next day usually sucks because of all the sugar in the champagne, but I'll tell you, man, champagne drunk's nice. It's a good.
It's sort
It
of like-
sneaks up on you too, especially if you're
does.
doing like mimosas or something in the morning. Because next thing you know, dude, you drink an entire bottle of champagne in like an hour, and you're feeling pretty good.
I mean, it's been a solid hour and a half, but yeah.
And then you mix that with going to Vegas and some slot machines, dude. Now you got a weekend.
It's been like an hour and a half, so
But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. As usual, we'll be around.
You're not going to talk about my horse, Josh?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Race 7.
I mean, no, it's okay. You know, I realize I am not the StableDuel expert like Caleb. So
You are not, but you had a StableDuel play. I'll have to. I sorry I cut you off here, Mark. Let's talk about Constitution Affair.
Yeah. So race 7, the number 6 Constitutional Affair. Again, this is one of those cheap StableDuel place horse or StableDuel type horses that I think has a huge shot to hit the board. Horse has never missed the exacta at Santa Anita. And they have tried to stretch this one out a little bit in the last race. Did not go as they would have liked. Getting a cut back here to a mile. Horse that seems to really like Santa Anita. Abel seems to do really well on this horse. And honestly, all 3 of those, if you toss that Del Mar race and you look at the figs on the previous 4 that were all at Santa Anita, all are right about what the winner has. This isn't a horse that's way too slow on figures and just doesn't make any sense. This is a horse that's consistent and runs well at this level, and you're getting a really cheap price on a horse that has a high chance of hitting the board. I thought this horse at 15-1 made a ton of sense, and it allows me to have a cheap horse here that I think hits the board, and then I can spend up for somebody like United later on.
I love it. I love tossing. Like, I feel like there's still always so much value where you just toss that last race, especially if the rest of the race is fit. Sometimes people just, I think, overreact to one bad race. I think I love it.
I think this is much like Caleb's 12 in the final race, where this is a terrible morning line. I think this horse goes off at 7-1 or 6-1. But in StableDuel, if you can find those bad morning lines and take advantage of them, that's how you do real well.
Yeah, Matthew's saying he's stunned that he was 15-1. He thought that.
Yeah, I think it's probably your second or third most likely winner in that race. So yeah, I thought it made a ton of sense.
Caleb, there is a question here for you, since I know you are a huge fan of Churchill Downs. Do you have any thoughts on the ACK?
If you can get 3-1 on Bo Liam, then bet it with both hands. That's pretty much my only opinion in that race. He should be 3-2, not 3-1.
I haven't even looked at the race, though, and I'm actually surprised that Caleb has like that. I literally thought that you were just gonna make some like smart ass comments.
I was looking at all the stakes, trying to find some bad favorites, but like I said, the favorites look tough this weekend. There aren't too many that I think are extremely vulnerable, so it's been slim pickings.
All right, now it's really going to do it for us. So unfortunately, it looks like Brian wasn't able to make it with us tonight. So hopefully he'll be back next week. But as usual, you guys can catch us out at ontherewronglead.com. We're on Twitter at @wrong_lead, youtube.com/ontherewronglead. If you guys need a link to the Discord or anything, want to check it out, you can find that on the horse racing Reddit, or you guys can just hit us up on Twitter and we can give you guys the link. And check out Manscaped, check out StableDuel. I know Caleb is going to be in every single one of the big contests, and I know Michael's going to be taking his money. So
Michael will also be taking my money, which is what Michael normally does.
Yeah. Michael's going to have. Michael's probably going to have 3 of like the top 5 in at least one of these contests this weekend. So, but yeah, we'll catch you guys later. Oh, I should probably hit the right button, guys. Ha ha ha.